Is the China drought bringing the rally back again? We are going to discuss this new hope to the markets with Jerry Gidel right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, how are you today? The markets have bounced back on this Friday after some crop reports, but not very strongly so far.
Yeah, it was kind of a pullback week here, to say the least, and pretty significant in some ways after we rallied right into the August crop report. To some extent, the bean number there at 51.9 definitely was an optimistic number there from the survey. It looks like from the producers out there on the 1st of August. I'd have to say that the weather since then has not been all that fantastic. We did end up having a nice rain that came through here. It was really localized, though, if you think about it. But it was an area that definitely has been on the dry side there from western Iowa, a little bit of eastern Nebraska, South Dakota, and it moved across Missouri on through midweek or so from there. But really, the market was really looking at the things in the Black Sea continue to be moving along. I think there's a lot of confusion as to you hear about 24 boats leaving there, but the total number of volume on the thing, they threw out an idea of 3 million metric tons moved, but I think that's also including stuff they've been shipping over the border on rail cars and that, because of many of those boats that have supposedly left are in the 5 to 10 metric ton level. They're not 150 MMTs.
Yes, and we are having news of better corn crops in South America, and that on this side would bring the prices down. But also are seeing or hearing talks about the drought in China. You checked some regions. I learned that today. So what did you learn about the drought in China?
Well, the drought in China uh, is really in the southern half of the country. Uh, it's the Yangtze Valley and south, which is important rice area. There's a wheat there. There's a few scatterings of corn and soybeans. The big area in China that's corn and soybean directed is Beijing and north up through the Manchurian area of that's in the northeast part of China. And so at this point, today's commentary about Chinese drought probably a little misdirected on corn and soybeans. I would not say that it won't hurt some of the southern wheat areas there in Hunan, and also rice production areas in the country. But it's definitely not as close to the main areas as you might think with that. And you were mentioning about South America, that some interesting data came out this week where all of a sudden the Brazil, the bonus series exchange decided to adjust their corn production number from 49 up to 52 million metric tons for this last season. It caught me off guard. I'm not sure exactly what I think is going on there. I think maybe it's just the fact that that the U.S. continues to stay up at 53 million metric tons. Unfortunately, right now, Argentina's ag minister and their capabilities to judge a crop have not been too strong over the last few years. So maybe that's what's going on. The other big news, of course, in South America is that everybody's kind of ramping up here to see what's going to happen with the 2022-23 crop. And that one, right now at least, is still in the the dry season, and usually that doesn't start changing in that until mid-September, maybe even 1st of October. And I don't know, La Nina is still out there, and at this point, I wonder how quickly that South American crop is going to be. But there's definitely lots of optimism and that, because it looks like they've got at least most of their fertilizer available to them. They've hustled out there and got that in. So the big question is, after this year's basically 114, 115 million metric ton crop in Brazil, will they be able to shoot for the number they were kind of looking for this year of over 140, and some people as high as 150? That's going to be a headwinds as we go into this fall period, and that. But at this point, at least, the U.S. weather conditions over the next 2 to 3 weeks are still going to be quite important as to the size of the U.S. crop.
So you are not expecting a stronger rally anytime soon?
Well, I guess I'm cautiously expecting a sideways trending market here, primarily because we've lost a lot of our investors here. It's not a totally unusual situation in August. Part of unfortunately, we don't have the speculative community we used to have that was kind of fundamentally based here in the Chicagoland. It's really become a fund-directed investor scenario, and those are really kind of highly involved with the East Coast. And interestingly enough, from the 1st of August until Labor Day, many of those people that are involved in the commodity funds are on vacation. Kind of like the European mentality of going to the beaches is also involved there in the East Coast. I think that's part of what's happened here, where we've had some unusual situations in that where they've kind of rallied every once in a while. It doesn't have much follow through. I guess the biggest thing it's going to make us decide if there's going to be a chance for any big rally is what does the upcoming pro farmer tour that will kick it off starting on Monday.
Yes. So what are you checking next week other than the Pro Farmer Tour?
Well, I think this time of year you watch that information, and of course then you check out what's going on in the weather around the world. The France is supposed to be able to be, and Europe's supposed to be getting a little bit of moisture out there. Nobody's talking about it though being really a substantial amount of moisture to really change anything significantly. And like us, they're kind of past some of the major factors there on your output, on corn and wheat and barley and things like that. The poor conditions this June and July, or late June and July, already had an impact on the output there. I think the interesting scenario as we look towards this USDA, or excuse me, I should say the Pro Farmer Tour, and the Pro Farmer Tour has some people that say, oh, it's biased from the producer, saying it's lower than expected kind of stuff. I'm not sure that that we had that same attitude here from the producers on their expectations for soybeans when they put their survey together for the USDA's August number. At the same time, the real interesting situation, I think, is going to be the western leg, the one that leaves from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, on Monday morning. They make a few kind of swing west and a little north out of that town, and then they go across the northern part of Nebraska, and also they definitely do a lot more looking at the dryland corn out there. Traditionally, at least, looking at the irrigated corn, and they have a huge portion of their crop, by the way, is 70% of it. So that's going to limit, that, like, all of a sudden, even if it's been hot and dry out there, we're not going to have a 150 bushel corn yield in Nebraska after 190s times the last few years. So, but the twist of it is that The weather has been very cruel to the dryland areas there of the eastern third of Nebraska. And then we're going to get a similar situation. They're going to look into the southeastern part of the state, and then they make a swing up the west side of Iowa as the eastern branch comes in, and they do one from Iowa City up to Rochester. So you end up and then get a path across Minnesota on that western leg on the last day across the southern third of the state. And so it'll be interesting as to what kind of results we get. I've heard people being better than expect. I've heard people saying, "Well, it's not the best yields I've ever had," and it's been streaky out there. The moisture has been when it came through has maybe been a county wide at times, and there's been places getting by rains, in essence, those half and three quarters amounts, while other places haven't been getting it. So it's going to be an interesting totals that come out of that area. The Eastern Corn Belt, there's parts of Ohio that's been late planted and have been dryness at times at this point. The development of that crop and how far along it's going to be is there. Indiana, a similar situation where it's late planted particularly in the northern third or two thirds, I should say, and that they don't really check in much with the southern third of Indiana. And that's another feature that's a part of the Illinois number. They look at the central and northern parts of the state. They don't really go a lot. They don't get below I-70 that goes from St. Louis to Indianapolis much from there. And that's an interesting area that had a big deluge, if you remember, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And that was kind of part of this St. Louis rain that came through here. And the one thing you got to remember about rain at this point, when you have a very heavy rain in a very short bit of time, it doesn't have the staying power of taking that same rain and putting it over, instead of 2 days, it's over 6 days. Big difference in how much that's useful to the crop at this point. A lot of it, I think everybody that's watching the U.S. and that, and some of the heavy rains have come into the Southwest, Arizona, Las Vegas. Man, they got huge downpours, and all of a sudden it's gone. It doesn't really help them getting a lot of soybean or get a lot of moisture in their ground. But that's the thing that's going to be interesting. But we'll see what those numbers have to say. And at this point, at least, I kind of feel like that they're going to be positive in some places, negative in the other. And so we'll be continuing to look out in front. And the USDA, by the way, is finally going to get some statistics here as they put together their enumerator plots and get some populations out there and rear counts and things like that. And that'll be a part of the September crop report that will be occurring after around the 10th or 12th of September here coming up.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. It's always good to talk, Luis. And at this point, I guess keep your Twitter accounts open and listen to what might be flowing around in all those different reports that'll be coming off from the Pro Farmer Tour.